That last line in the Message paraphrase is really resonating with me after I wrote my sermon. So I'm gonna let that resonate and mellow over the summer, but we may come back to that. I love the way he translated that last line. Today is Pentecost, as we've already established. And Pentecost is one of my favorite celebrations of the church year. It's hard to beat the drama of the Pentecost story, at least as Sarah read it from the book of Acts. It would make a great Hollywood movie, wouldn't it? It has all the important aspects. A group of fearful disciples gathered together in a darkened room with curtains drawn. Some are biting their nails. Few are pacing the floor. Most are huddled around a heavy wooden table, not daring to raise their voices above a whisper as they discuss recent events. Jesus, the one they had followed as their Messiah, had been killed some 50 days ago. But a few of their group had found his tomb empty, and some among them had experienced the presence of Jesus with them in ways at least as real as any physical encounter. Some even claimed that Jesus had been resurrected in a way beyond their imagining. But even so, here they are, gathered in Jerusalem with Jewish sisters and brothers from all over the known world for the festival of Shavuot. Shavuot was a celebration among the Hebrew people of the gift of the Torah, the book which held the story of the Hebrew people's freedom from slavery by God's hand. And in a less literal way, it was the celebration of God's gift of spiritual freedom from those realities that oppress body and soul. But this band of disciples had lost their spiritual leader, and their sense of meaning and direction seemingly had disappeared right along with him. Their sense of spiritual liberation had melted away in a period of despondent isolation. And then, at this moment, this very moment of what felt like the empty dark, at this unexpected moment comes the Hollywood part. The wooden structure began to creak and rattle, and the one candle in the center of the table began to flicker, and suddenly a powerful gale-force wind blew the shutters open, and light streamed for the first time into the dark room. And the swirling wind blew the flame of the candle out and rekindled the disparate flame on the heads of those gathered, dancing like tongues of fire. Some rushed to that now open window and, peering out of their third-story perch, heard the crowd below speaking in 1,000 different languages, and yet perfectly understanding each other just the same. Some thought it might be alcohol that had accounted for the special effects, but Peter was convinced himself that something else was going on. Remembering words of the prophet Joel that a day of God would come when everyone in the world would be filled with the Spirit of God, he proclaimed, "This is it! This is the day." And what a day it apparently was. But I don't know about you, but the further that I journey, the less I'm impressed by this story that used to so capture my spirit. Because sometimes life's dramas, like this drama in the book of Acts, do yield some power of new life that we had not anticipated. But sometimes drama is, well, just drama. And because of that, I am more and more recently drawn to the Pentecost story in the Gospel of John. It's very low tech and very low budget. It's not very Hollywood or even very Bollywood. There is the same darkened upper room with the same confused and despondent disciples. But this time, there is no earthquake, no awe-inspiring wind, no flames dancing about the room. This time, there is only breath. That's it. Breath. The bewildered disciples experience Jesus alive again in their very midst. And he simply draws in a deep and filling breath and exhales through open mouth. And then without drama at all, he simply says, "Receive the Holy Spirit." And that's it. And that's the version of the Spirit's coming that is speaking to my soul today. And I have come to love it because it makes sense of my life and it connects me to all that is. Earth science tells us that the protective layer of our atmosphere protects us and the air that we breathe. Protects it from the cold, vast vacuum of outer space beyond. Under that protective layer lies all the air that ever was. Trees and plants filter and clean that air constantly. But there is no cosmic cleaning crew that periodically vacuums up all the old used air and spews out a fresh batch for our consumption. That says something to me about the care of this world that we inhabit and the urgency that we care for our breath and the breath of the earth. But it also says something else to me. It means that as you and I breathe in, there is a sense in which we breathe in some of that first dust that formed the earth at its very birth. It means that we breathe in the ashen air of 9/11. It means that we breathe in the air of a newborn's first cry. And we breathe in the air released in another's last breath, and the strength of the life and gifts that sustain it. In his book, The Sacred Balance, David Suzuki has said that every breath is a sacrament, an affirmation of our connection with all other living things, a renewal of our link with our ancestors, and a contribution to generations yet to come. Our breath is a part of life's breath, the ocean of air that envelops the earth. In breathing on his disciples, then, could it be that Jesus was connecting them with that sustaining breath of life that has enlivened God's creation ever since it first began? Is the invitation to receive Holy Spirit indeed the invitation to breathe in this sustaining life that binds all that is together, and to become more aware of its strength within us and between us? Sometimes life's dramas, like the drama in the book of Acts, do yield some power of new life that we we had not yet anticipated. But sometimes drama is, well, yes, just drama. But the invitation to breathe in and breathe out, and to partake of the sacrament of creation's ongoing life, that is an inner resource that can sustain us with its power to connect us to one another and to the God that lives within all that is. So next time you are unsure, next time you are panicked, or next time you are feeling disconnected, perhaps the beginning of reassurance and healing could come from taking a moment of stillness to become aware of your own breath, its continual flow in and out, and its embodiment of the flow of God's Spirit, connecting you to your own life and to the life of others. And we can try that anytime and anywhere, even now. Breathe in with me a long, deep breath and out with a sigh. Let's try that one more time. I like the sound of it. You know, interestingly, the word conspiracy is from a Latin root which simply means to breathe with the same wind, or to be filled with the same Spirit. Pentecost, then, as I see it, is a holy conspiracy. It embodies the radical notion that we all share the same life-giving source, and that same life-giving source of all that is as close to us as our own breath. Thanks be to God. Amen.